The Finger Lakes are a group of long, narrow lakes between central and western New York, about 50 kilometers south of Lake Ontario. They originated as a series of streams flowing northward from the glaciated Allegheny Plateau into Lake Ontario. The eastern woodlands of North America were settled by bands of hunter-gatherers in the late Paleolithic period. In the Finger Lakes region, they formed 5 warring nations, namely the Mohawk, Onondaga, Oneida, Cayuga, and Seneca. They were connected to the Appalachian populations to the south by a network of trade routes known as the HOPEWELL exchange system, of which the Seneca Trail extended from the Niagara Falls all the way down south to the Mississippi River Delta. On August 22, 1142, during a solar eclipse in the historic site called Ganondagan in present-day Ontario County, the great peacemaker Daganoweda and prophetess Jugansase hosted a gathering of the 5 warring nations and announced the creation of the Haudenosaunee, meaning the Confederacy of the Long Houses, to wit, the wooden houses in which they typically lived. The Haudenosaunee economy was based on common ownership of land and horticulture, combined with hunting, fishing, and gathering. After a sufficient area of soil was prepared by the tribesmen, maize, climbing beans, and winter squash were planted by the tribeswomen. The 3 crops benefited from each other. The maize provided a structure for the beans to climb, the beans provided nitrogen to the soil, and the squash spread along the ground, helping prevent the establishment of weeds. The Haudenosaunee people traded excess corn and tobacco for the pelts from the tribes to the west and the seashells from the tribes to the east. Women artisans traditionally made beads called wampum by rounding small pieces of whelk shells, then piercing them with a hole before stringing them. The weaving of wampum belts was a sort of writing in which the various designs of beads denoted the recording of events, numbers, and ideas. Hiawatha was the most well-known leader of the Haudenosaunee people. His adventures and exploits were romanticized in the epic poem The Song of Hiawatha, written by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow in 1855. Hiawatha's wampum belt symbolized peace between the 5 Haudenosaunee nations. By the time of Hiawatha's death in 1595, early French presence in North America had begun to destabilize the region's peace and harmony. Throughout the 17th century, the Haudenosaunee land was contended among the French, the Dutch, and the British, who wanted to monopolize the local fur trade and exploit the natural resources. At first, the Dutch prevailed and founded the colony of New Netherland in 1621. About half a century later, they ceded it to the English, who renamed it the Province of New York. The Tuscarora people, who were living in the Great Dismal Swamp south of Chesapeake Bay, but were ethnically related to the Haudenosaunee people, were accommodated within their confederacy as the Sixth Nation in 1722. From 1754 to 1763, the colonies of British America fought those of New France, each side supported by military units from the parent country and by Native American allies. The war officially ended with the signing of the Treaty of Paris, confirming Great Britain's position as the dominant colonial power in North America. The chief warrior John Cornplanter Abeille was the son of a Dutch fur trader and a Haudenosaunee princess. The Abeille family was connected to the Schuyler family, who played a critical role in the inception and development of New York State. John Corn Planter, his half-brother Handsome Lake, and the orator Red Jacket, along with 50 other Haudenosaunee leaders, signed the Treaty of Canandaigua in 1794, which granted Native Americans some tracts of land that would eventually become the reservations of Tonawanda, Cattaraugus, Oil Springs, Onondaga, and others, where their descendants still live today. Handsome Lake played a major role in solidifying the identity of his people. He preached a philosophy which combined Native American traditions with Quaker values. Red Jacket received a large silver medal from President George Washington as a token of peace, which is held in the collection of the Buffalo History Museum. Thayendanegea, whose English name was Joseph Brant, met many of the most significant Anglo-American people of the age, including both George Washington and King George III. Brant's mother was a successful businesswoman who collected and sold ginseng to New York merchants. Ginseng had been used in traditional medicine by Native Americans for thousands of years. Simeon DeWitt was a Dutch-American geographer and surveyor general of New York State until his death in 1834. His collaborator, Robert Harper, who was fond of classical antiquity, formed a cultural connection between central New York and the Mediterranean basin, so that several towns in the Finger Lakes region were named after Greco-Roman personalities such as Manlius, Cicero, Camillus, and Lysander, as well as Greco-Roman locations such as Syracuse, Rome, Ithaca, and Pompeii. Founded as Hamilton Oneida Academy in 1793, Hamilton College is one of the oldest universities in the United States. At its inception, it admitted both white and Native American boys, and soon welcomed girls too. 8 fraternities, 4 sororities, and 1 co-ed society are active on the Hamilton College campus and organize various events such as spring parties, hockey games, and a winter carnival. Penn Yan is one of the most rustic villages in the Finger Lakes region. Founded at the northeastern tip of Cuca Lake in the 18th century by Danish, German, and Swiss immigrants, it became an important trading center and the home of the oldest mills in the United States, such as the Burkett Mills, built in 1797, which still produce buckwheat products. Rochester and Buffalo, the 2 largest cities in central New York, were founded on the southern shore of Lake Ontario at the end of the 18th century. Today, their metropolitan areas have a population of about 1,200,000 people each, half of whom are African Americans. Rochester was one of the United States' first boomtowns, initially due to the fertile soil and its numerous flour mills. The city later rose to prominence as the birthplace of some of America's most iconic companies, in particular Eastman Kodak, Xerox, and Bausch & Lomb. At the dawn of the 20th century, Buffalo mills were among the first to benefit from hydroelectric power generated by the Niagara River. The city got the nickname the City of Light at this time due to the widespread electric lighting. The Pierce Arrow Motor Car Company and the Buffalo Dry Dock were key to the city's economy. Completed in 1825, the Erie Canal was the second longest canal in the world after the Grand Canal in China. Stretching from the Hudson River in Albany to Lake Erie in Buffalo, it greatly enhanced the development and economy of Syracuse, Rochester, and Buffalo. The Finger Lakes region features several narrow gorges cut through rock by streams connected by a network of trails which include stairways such as Jacob's Ladder and Rainbow Bridge in Watkins Glen. Tuganuck is a 66-meter plunge waterfall that is the highest single-drop waterfall east of the Rocky Mountains. Buttermilk Falls was named for the frothy appearance of its churning waters. The surrounding woods teems with deer, foxes, coyotes, bobcats, skunks, and various birds. Lucifer Falls features numerous tiered staircases, cascades, plunges, and flumes. Ithaca Falls is located within the city of Ithaca, where Fall Creek intersects the glacial trough of Cayuga Lake. The area just south of the Finger Lakes is known as the Southern Tier and is part of the Allegheny Plateau, which ranges from low rolling hills to the more steep and rugged cliffs and valleys. Greek Peak stands 670 meters above sea level, about 30 kilometers east of downtown Ithaca, and features a vertical drop of 290 meters. Bristol Mountain, about 5 kilometers west of Canandaigua Lake, has 35 slopes and trails. Cayuga Lake is the longest of the Finger Lakes. The north end is dominated by shallow mud flats, which are an important stopover for migratory birds. One of the primary inflows is Fall Creek at the lake's southern end. A few miles west of Cayuga is Seneca Lake, the largest and deepest of the Finger Lakes. Numerous canal barges sank in the 19th and 20th centuries and rest on the bottom of the lake. The presence of large sturgeons, eels, and trouts in the lake has fueled legends of lake monsters. Dennis Cusick was a Tuscarora painter from Oneida County who founded a new style of narrative painting. His elder brother David published a 28-page pamphlet of sketches of ancient history and mythology of the Haudenosaunee people in 1827. This valuable record has been advanced as evidence for the existence of Bigfoot and other cryptids. It has also been proposed as a possible source for the Book of Mormon, published by Joseph Smith in 1830. In fact, the Finger Lakes region was a hotbed of religious and mystical enthusiasm during the so-called Second Great Awakening, and Joseph Smith engaged in religious folk magic, which was a relatively common practice at that time and place. Joseph was said to have an ability to locate lost items by looking into a seer stone, which he also used in treasure hunting. He reportedly unearthed tablets engraved in ancient hieroglyphs in Chenango County. After publishing the Book of Mormon, Joseph Smith and his followers formally organized the Latter-day Saint movement in Palmyra. In 1848, two sisters named Kate and Maggie Fox were living in a house in Wayne County with their parents. The house had some reputation for being haunted, and the sisters convinced their family and neighbors they could commune with spirits. After 40 years of necromancy and mediumship, they confessed it had all been a hoax. In spite of that, the spiritualism movement continued to grow in popularity and led to Helena Blavatsky's involvement in paranormal activities in New York in 1873 and her foundation of the Theosophical Society in the Big Apple in 1875. 7 years later, Josephine Cables founded the Theosophical Society of Rochester and began publishing The Occult World, a paper devoted to advanced thought and reform work. She turned her home into a hub of esotericists and mystics, including the famous architect Claude Fayette Bragdon. The Oneida community was founded by John Humphrey Noyes in Madison County. He preached that Jesus had already returned, making it possible for people to be free of sin. The community lived and worked in their mansion house from 1848 to 1881, manufacturing travel bags, palm frond hats, rustic furniture, and silverware. They strongly believed in free love, but practiced selective reproduction, making sure they had few but healthy children. Not everyone in central New York was so disciplined and hard-working, though. The Loomis Gang was a family of outlaws who operated from 1806 to 1866. They specialized in theft of horses and livestock rustling, robberies, burglaries, and fraud. They were finally vanquished by an angry mob who burned down their property and scared them into obscurity. Founded in 1827, the Oneida Institute of Science and Industry was a leader in the emergent abolitionism movement. It was the most radical school in the country, the first at which black men were just as welcome as whites. In an era when the prevailing wisdom was no woman could withstand the intellectual and emotional rigors of a medical education, Elizabeth Blackwell was admitted in 1847 to the medical institution of Geneva College in Seneca County. She graduated 2 years later at the top of her class to become the first woman doctor in the Americas. The first Women's Rights Convention was held in Seneca Falls, followed by the Rochester Women's Rights Convention 2 weeks later in 1848, presided by Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Abigail Norton Bush, respectively. Stanton authored the History of Women's Suffrage and the Woman's Bible, while Bush became active in the Anti-Slavery Society. The New York State Agricultural Society was founded in 1832 with the goal of promoting agricultural improvement through the New York State Fair, held in Syracuse, which has become New York's largest annual event. The Utica Psychiatric Center, opened in 1843, was New York's first state-run facility designed to care for the mentally ill. It became notorious for using chains and cages to restrain patients. In 1864, the New York State Inebriate Asylum was inaugurated in Broome County. It was the first institution constructed to treat alcoholism as a mental disorder in the United States. The Aqueduct Spring Brewery, located in Rochester, had been in operation from 1819 to 1844 and was reopened in 1857 and eventually renamed the Genesee Brewery. Pleasant Valley Wine Company is one of the oldest in the United States. Founded in Steuben County in 1860, it has some of the largest grape plantings in New York. During Prohibition, the winery survived by making sacramental and medicinal wines. By 1875, Waterville in Oneida County was considered the hops capital of the world, and its hop extract was shipped to breweries all around the world. Born into slavery in Maryland, Harriet Tubman escaped to New York and bought a small piece of land in Cayuga County in 1859. She went on to set up a network of anti-slavery activists, secret routes, and safe houses for fugitive slaves throughout the northeastern states. A lifelong enthusiast of science and agriculture, Ezra Cornell founded Tompkins County Public Library and Cornell University in 1865. The university's co-founder, Andrew Dixon White, amassed a sizable book collection built on architecture, spirituality, witchcraft, and politics, and donated it to the university library. Cornell University's main campus is on East Hill, overlooking downtown Ithaca and Cayuga Lake. It is marked by an irregular layout and eclectic architectural styles, including ornate Gothic, Victorian, and neoclassical buildings. The university has a lake source cooling project that uses Cayuga Lake to air-condition campus buildings with an 80% energy saving over conventional systems. Most Cornell University notables and luminaries were interred in the crypt inside Sage Chapel, located on campus. The building features stained glass windows and glass mosaics with allegorical imagery produced by John Lafarge and Louis Comfort Tiffany. Amory Houghton Jr., who opened Corning Glass Works in Steuben County, also contributed both artistic and optical glass to the university from 1868 until his death in 1909. Sage Chapel houses a choir loft and a pipe organ with 3,858 speaking pipes. Opposite the chapel, across Hope Plaza, stands a 53-meter clock tower known as McGraw Tower, named after Jenny McGraw, who donated the chimes in 1868. Hope Plaza is named after the Ho family, who graduated 4 members from Cornell. Along with other Chinese Americans, they have donated valuable artwork to the university library, which also houses a major collection of medieval books, cuneiform tablets, and other rare manuscripts. The Cornell Department of Astronomy maintains 4 observatories, the most popular of which is Fuertes Observatory on the North Campus. The Glee Club, organized by the university's early students, is a 55-member chorus for tenor and bass voices with repertoire including classical, folk, 20th century music, and traditional Cornell songs. Risley Hall is a Tudor Gothic building which houses a residential college with fireplaces, dumbwaiter shafts, secret stairwells, a theater, a recording studio, a dark room, and a coffee house. Several buildings around the university's art squad are rumored to be haunted by ghosts at night, including the Johnson Museum of Art, built by Chinese-American architect Bei Yuming in 1973. A local superstition alleges that if a virgin crosses the art squad at midnight, the statues of Ezra Cornell and Andrew Dixon White will walk off their pedestals, meet in the center of the quad, and shake hands, congratulating themselves on the chastity of students. And if a couple crosses the suspension bridge on North Campus and the young woman does not accept a kiss from her partner, the bridge will fall. Conversely, if the kiss is accepted, the couple is assured a long future together. Founded in 1890, the Sphinx Head is the oldest senior honor society at Cornell University. It has retained an aura of mystery throughout its history on campus, holding some closely guarded secrets and traditions. Its clubhouse, resembling an Egyptian tomb, became the home and office of astronomer Carl Sagan, who was a faculty member at Cornell for nearly 30 years until his death in 1996. Founded in 1892, the Witches' Coven, known as Hexenkreis, is the oldest national honor society for senior women and is linked to the Mortarboard Secret Society. Founded in 1893, Quill and Dagger is the third Cornell-based secret society and possibly the most influential. Its members spearheaded the erection of a permanent memorial to Cornellians who served in World War I. Cornell's secret societies, fraternities, and sororities cooperate to organize university events such as the spring celebrations, which include live musical performances, as on May the 6th, 1977. The main gig was played by Commander CODY and his Lost Planet Airmen, followed by the Grateful Dead just 2 days later. The end of the spring semester is also marked by the procession of a dragon, usually made of cloth and papier-mâché. This celebration was originally inspired by the Lemuralia feast, during which the ancient Romans performed rites to exorcise hungry ghosts. At the same time, it coincides with the Asian festivity of Vesak, celebrated to commemorate Buddha's birth and awakening. Alpha Phi Alpha, the first intercollegiate African-American fraternity, was founded in 1906 and has been open to men of all races since 1945. Cornell University has facilities devoted to conservation and ecology, such as the Botanic Gardens, which specialize in trees and shrubs native to New York State, and the Department of Horticulture, which operates organic research farms in Freevale, about 15 kilometers northeast of Ithaca. Thomas Colin Campbell, professor of nutritional biochemistry at Cornell University, has become known for his advocacy of a low-fat, whole foods, plant-based diet. In 1983, he led a project with the Chinese Academy of Preventive Medicine to explore the relationship between nutrition and health. In 2005, he authored the China Study, often regarded as the manifesto of veganism. Though Ithaca has its fair share of Italian and Asian restaurants, the most famous eatery is MOOSEWOOD, opened in 1973, which offers a vegetarian menu and publishes cookbooks. In 1991, an eco-village was founded 2 miles west of downtown Ithaca. The village, entirely pedestrian, comprises houses and apartments, hiking trails, and play spaces, and is surrounded by woods and open meadows. It also includes a swimming pool and a large organic fruit and vegetable farm that provides produce for residents as well as the wider Ithaca area. The Zen Center of Syracuse was founded in 1972 by Sherry Chayat and has become a source of inspiration for all those interested in approaching meditation and compassion. Namgyal Monastery in Ithaca is the North American seat of the Dalai Lama. It was established in 1992 as a branch of the 17th century Namgyal Temple in Dharamsala, India. It provides an authentic Buddhist environment more than 10,000 miles from Tibet. Ithaca College was founded in 1892 as a conservatory of music, but soon went on to add the study of radio, dance, physical education, speech correction, and the liberal arts. Today, it is particularly renowned as a top school for journalism, film, media, and entertainment. Robert Arthur Moog was an engineering physicist and pioneer of electronic music. After producing his own theremin design, he enrolled at Cornell University, where he created Moog and many Moog synthesizers from 1964 to 1970, which were first adopted by bands such as the Rolling Stones and the Beatles, influencing the development of popular music on a global level. In the 1968-69 school year, the Cornell University judicial system was the center of a controversy in connection with the burning of a cross on the lawn of the African American women's dormitory. As racial tensions escalated, some African American students demanded amnesty for the accused protesters, as well as the establishment of an Africana Studies Center. Nydia Bloss was born in Ithaca in 1981. She received her bachelor's degree from Ithaca College in cinema and photography with a minor in African diaspora studies. She also received her Master of Fine Arts in photography from Syracuse University. Her photographs explore Black identity and encourage African American women to express themselves through literature and art.